have many memories of the Great Depression. I was bar mitzvahed at about that time, but I have a lot of memories of what went on around us. The first thing was obvious, and that is that J&L, Jones and Laughlin, the steel mill, shut down. There were only a few men working there in the office, but none of the great labor force. I often recall that men who were out of work and didn't have anything to eat would go down to the mill, get seeds and shovels, and then walk out to the edge of town where they planted the seeds for vegetables that they would have for their family to eat. We had to save money, and instead of going to a grocery store, we would pile into our Buick touring car and go out into the countryside looking for signs of farms where vegetables were on sale. We would buy corn and squash, tomatoes and beans. I remember one time we came back and Dad remarked, we, we bought corn for 10 cents an ear, which was the only way we could save money. I remember we bought apples by the bushel. I liked them and Dad liked them. Mother made applesauce. We would buy them by the bushel and take them down into the cellar where it was cool. And whenever we wanted an apple to eat, we would go down and take one or two. I always ate an apple on the way to school. A painful memory is when my shoes became too worn to wear. I couldn't get shoes from the shoe store because the shoe store was owned by the Shamavitzes and our family, and we couldn't just take shoes off the shelf. So my solution was to go to the cobbler around the back of the store on the alley there and tell him to half sole them and sometimes put on heels. The result was that my shoes became smaller, the tops being pulled in when they were repaired. And the result of that is that I have a pair of painful bunions. Another way that we had to save money was to do something about the fact that the Shemavitzes got the Forward, a Jewish newspaper from New York, and so did we. And we had a telephone, and so did they. The solution was that for a period of time, they would have a telephone and we would have a Forward's. When Dad was finished with the Forward's, I would run it up the hill to the Shamavitzes. And if phone calls came for us at the Shamavitz residence, one of the boys would come down and tell Dad, and then he would go up and take the phone call. There was a foreclosure of a house on Sheffield Avenue. The bank that had the mortgage told Dad that the owner was unable to continue make payments and asked Dad if he would like to buy it for the remainder of the principal. Dad felt somewhat guilty because he knew Rocco Paradiso, who owned the house and could no longer make payments. So we went to see him and told Rocco what he had in mind. Rocco said, "Mr. Jackson, I can't make the payments. You go ahead and buy it." And so we did. As time went along and the house needed some spiffing up, for instance, Evie's bedroom, where Elizabeth the maid slept with her, needed new wallpaper. So Mother and Elizabeth went to work and put up new wallpaper. One wall was dark flowers, the other three walls were light and flowers. That was the style. When the wallpaper got too dirty, Mother couldn't have it cleaned, so she got what was we would call now silly putty, and she and Elizabeth would use it to wipe the dust off the wallpaper. The biggest item that brought in some income that made it more comfortable for us was to convert our third floor or attic into a place that we could rent out. Mother called a plumber whom we knew. He put in a sink, toilet, he put in a heater, and Mother put an ad in the paper, and the young couple came. He worked at night at the mill or wherever he went to work. So we had some income. I don't think I ever saw them more than once or twice. And finally, there were always people coming into the shoe store and asking for a handout because they went from place to place. They had no jobs. So Dad told the owner of the cafe about 4 doors away, "If I send a man over to you, you give him a sandwich and coffee, and I'll pay for it." Uncle Morris, of course, was part of that. After that went on for several months, the owner of the cafe, Gus Hages, came to Dad and Uncle Morris and said, "I want to be part of that." Those are my memories of what went on in the Depression.